What's up everyone, welcome back to the channel. My name's Evan Albrecht. I'm a professional sports and surf photographer. I'm heading back to San Diego for school next week. Actually when this video drops, I'll be in San Diego. So gonna have a lot more surf content coming. So today I'm gonna be talking about the best lenses for surf photography. Really hopes this helps you out. I've been doing surf photography for 7 years now, 8 years if you count doing it with a GoPro. But yeah, I've had a ton of fun with it, had a lot of success with it. And yeah, let's get right into it. I think this video is gonna be super helpful. So first thing is understanding focal lengths. So this is really just depending on where you're shooting from. So sometimes I shoot in the water with a camera housing, which is usually what I do. Recently made a video on this with my Aquatech water housing with my R5. I usually use a 50mm lens in there because that's the only lens that fits in that lens port. So I use a 50, which is definitely not kind of a standard for surf photography, obviously. Usually you're thinking like 200 to 400, stuff like that. So that's definitely a little bit different, but it's also because I'm in the water. Definitely depends on where I'm shooting. I have a 70 to 200 or a 1 to 400 if I'm shooting from land. Usually I like the 1 to 400 to get nice up and close if I am doing sports photography, just because it definitely looks better if you're really tight. You definitely do not want to shoot out super wide unless it's like a really nice landscape or something like that. But shooting nice and tight can show the emotion of a surfer and can also show the big wave in the background. Stuff like that is really what I'm into and what I think is a really good style for surf photography. But yeah, there definitely is a big difference between those lenses. I think if you're shooting from the land, I've definitely seen some people also use like a 600, which will be a prime lens actually, which is really good. Those are like for professional sports and professional surfing and stuff, but those lenses could be $10,000 and more. So I would recommend, I have a 1 to 400. It's an f5.6, which is not the best, but f5.6, it's pretty cheap at that range, which is why I have it obviously. But yeah, obviously if you're going for those, you definitely want a 2.8, something like that, to get that big aperture, which is really what you want if you're shooting in the morning or at sunset. Stuff like that looks really good and really sharp. Second thing I want to talk about is weather sealing. So Canon has specific lenses that are better lenses, different series and stuff like that. And I know Nikon, Sony does as well, that are more weather sealing, which is super important. I recently had my water housing flood with my 50mm f1.8 in there, and my camera survived. And it was actually the f1.8 lens, but it was the new RF lens, so it was supposed to have really good weather sealing, and no water got in that lens or got in my camera through there, and it was fully flooded. And it saved my camera, it saved my lens, even though the lens was like only 150 bucks, I wasn't that worried about it. But it saved my whole setup just because the lens had weather sealing in it. So being able to look at that and say, hey, what am I using this for? Maybe if you're shooting from the beach and there's waves splashing you, or shooting on a pier, or if even like raining and stuff like that, it's super important to have gear that can work in those tough situations. So being able to look at that and say, hey, maybe I should pay a little bit more for this lens because it is weather sealed and I'm gonna be using it in these tough situations. Even like if you're shooting like swimming or something in a pool and it gets splashed, stuff like that is super important and definitely good to look at. I never thought that I would need that honestly until my water housing flooded, and it totally saved my camera and saved everything. So super thankful I have that, and I would definitely look at that next time I get a lens. All right, the third thing that I want to talk about, which is super important when it comes to shooting sports, surf photography, really anything like that, is autofocus speed and accuracy. So obviously you're gonna be shooting up close and tight, or if you're using a housing, you're pretty close up to the action, and you're gonna want to be shooting at like maybe 1/1200th of a second up to 1/2000th of a second, something like that in that range is usually what I'm shooting at, just to not get motion blur and make sure it's nice and sharp. And having that sharp autofocus is the key to getting good photos, because if you're shooting surf photography, there's surfers getting in the way, the waves crashing, maybe some of the water splashes up, stuff like that gets in the way. And having that sharp autofocus makes sure that you get that photo and it's on your subject. Because I had a lot of problems with my Canon 70D because the autofocus was horrible within the camera, the lenses that I used were cheap, and the autofocus was absolutely terrible. Like a surfer would be coming at me, It would focus on the wave, it would focus on the surfer, then it would go to like the surfer's leg. It was just horrible. Just the settings were horrible in that camera and everything like that. But with the R5, it's been a lot better, but it's also been better because of the lenses that I've used. So I've seen it the best with the 70-200 that I have. It's actually an f4 just because the f2.8 is super expensive, but the f4 even has great autofocus. It's so fast, it's just amazing to me. Right when a surfer stands up, stuff like that, it's automatically focusing on their head. That's something that you want to look at, not just obviously that's in camera, and you want it to be fast, sharp, and accurate, because if you get an amazing barrel shot of a surfer, you don't want it to be autofocused on his leg or something like that, or on his surfboard or on the wave. You want it to be on his face, on his eyes. And that's how you really get the sharpest photos, when it's focused on his face and his eyes. That's what you're looking for with his autofocus. So watch those videos on what cameras you like, but definitely if you're gonna be shooting this and you're gonna actually wanna take this to the next level with your photography, definitely upgrade to those nice lenses with the fast autofocus, because that is key to getting good photos, or else you're gonna be getting good photos that are all out of focus, and then you can't even use those photos. So it's definitely worth it. And the last thing that I have to talk about is image stabilization. So usually when you're shooting these, you're moving around pretty fast, or if I'm in the water, I'm obviously holding up a housing, so it's not stable at all really. Like I'll be holding it, I have a trigger at the bottom, and then I have a handle, so I'll kind of be moving it around, stuff like that. So it's not stable, but having image stabilization within the lens is huge. So I'm using the 24-70 right now. It's on my desk, and if I shake my desk, you can see that it's blurry. It hurts your eyes probably looking at it. Like if I did that again, you'd be like, you need to stop that right now. And same thing with photos. If you don't have image stabilization and you don't have a tripod, all of your photos are gonna look like that. They're gonna look distorted. They're gonna just look weird, and you're not gonna be able to use those photos. So having image stabilization within a lens is key to having good photos as well, and to maintaining good autofocus and accuracy within your photos. And this also helps with framing, because if it's shaking, stuff like that, it stabilizes it more. So that's what you really need when you're shooting stuff like this. Even if you are using a tripod from the beach shooting that surf photography, you're still gonna be shooting really close and tight, and you're gonna be moving it around. So it's not gonna be fully stabilized either, because you're gonna be moving it around. It's gonna be a little bit unsteady, probably on the sand, something like that, maybe on a pier. It's not gonna be perfectly stable. So having that image stabilization within the lens can also help those minor mistakes that honestly you don't even notice with it. But without the image stabilization, you'll notice some weird blurs in the photos. Maybe some are just out of focus. Stuff like that definitely will hurt your photos and take away from what you got. And that's all I have for the video today. I hope this helped. Yeah, I've been shooting surf photography for a while now, so let me know if you have any questions down below in the comments. Super excited to get back to San Diego and start doing a lot more surf photography. I also just got a new drone, so super excited about that. Definitely gonna be taking that out at the beach, maybe doing some surf stuff with it, getting some cool photos of the beach, stuff like that. We'll see what happens with that. Maybe I'll make a couple of videos on the new drone as well. So super excited about that. Let me know if you wanna see a new video of the drone actually in the comments, and I can make one of those. That would be a lot of fun as well. But yeah, get ready for some more surf content. Let me know what you want to see regarding sports content and stuff as well, because I'll be getting back to that in my job in college. So that's going to be a lot of fun. And yeah, a lot of cool stuff coming. Subscribe to see more videos like this, and stay tuned for the journey. Like the video, share this video, really helps me out. And thank you, and see you next video.